I'm pressing my own mute button and everything. It's weird. All right. Thank you everybody for being here at the Werewolf Technical Steering Committee meeting for the 21st of January. I switched my microphone around just as I was speaking, but can you all hear me okay? Yeah, okay. And we've got a relatively short agenda today, but we'll briefly go over that and then see if there's anything to add and then start working on it. So we'll hear about the most recent WUG, which I wasn't able to be at from Rose, so I'll be glad to hear about that. We'll talk about the 465 release, which is out, and a little bit of follow-up from that, but mostly it's been just smooth sailing on that. Review what's currently in the milestone for 466, and then I'd like to revisit the conversation that we had at an earlier meeting, I forget when, last year, about growing either the technical steering committee or our developer community or just kind of getting more people involved in the umbrella. So anything else that we should add to the agenda before we get started? With Jeremy's sip of coffee or other beverage, I will take that as a we're good to go and just start at the top rows with the WUG. How was the last meeting and how did it go and who presented and what's coming up next?
Yeah, thank you. I think that the wugs are going well. We recorded the whole thing, and Jonathan gave me access to the Werewolf YouTube channel. So I was able to get it up there on our playlist. It is posted, the last two. I did let them know that it would be recorded. There was not a lot of engagement. So the presentation was by Zach Reed at AMD about using Werewolf on AMD GPUs. I thought it was a great presentation. There was some a little bit questions back and forth, but not a lot of engagement from the pack, the herd. So I guess my question here is I think that most of you weren't there. Jeremy, you were there though for the presentation at the WUG last week, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I'm
how
trying
did
to
you?
remember which one
Yeah,
it was.
yeah. Zachary Reed presented AMD, like using Werewolf on AMD
Yeah.
GPUs. Yeah. So I thought it was a good presentation. We had a full house, meaning that my screen was full of little boxes of little black boxes with a name on it. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I would. I don't know if like I've never been to a WUG before, technical WUG, especially on Zoom, and so I don't know if like that kind of just kind of like listening and being present is normal, or if we want to do something to try and just like you were saying, Jonathan, you want more engagement here. I think maybe it'd be great if we had specific questions, or I don't know how to kind of increase the engagement or what the issue is, but it's kind of my take.
Well, and it was one thing that we had brought up as a concern before that perhaps recording discourages engagement. And since I wasn't there, I don't know compared to what we'd had in the past, but I had at least my recollection is we have at least a little bit of engagement at the end of each meeting. In fact, it feels like we come to the end of it, and then just as we're about to finish, two or three people have something that they really want to talk about right then. But it sounds like there wasn't as much of that this time.
To me, it felt like there really wasn't a much of that. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Um, so yeah, I I don't know. I guess maybe taking one example isn't the best. So maybe, we'll have a few more and kind of see how it goes.
Well,
I did say, mhm.
you have some long presentations, and so that might develop, you might get some interaction, but it's usually around questions around the presentation. But maybe, yeah, and that's exactly, it's less participation time depending on how long the presentations go. But targeting, let's say, 30-minute presentations or 20-minute presentations from people to come in to do an overview, um, and then more interactive uh forum. You for instance, Jonathan could come in and just take questions for a half an hour, listen to people's opinions and say, hey, what do you want with Werewolf? Because that's certainly there's a lot of people have opinions about that who would probably like to give it.
True. So like a
Yeah.
different type of format. Like if you're having a presentation, cool. I'm here for the
Yeah.
presentation. I enjoyed it. Didn't really spark any question in me. Bye.
Yeah.
As
I know
opposed
that like, I could be in there, Tim, Christian. So actually, Christian could be the other one because he's really technical lead um, and driving the code base, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to might have questions.
Maybe we could take like pro when we announce the WUG, maybe there could be a way for people to submit questions or discussion topics for the upcoming meeting ahead of time also.
and in fairness, you guys weren't there. Jeremy was there, but I think it maybe is helpful when you guys are the rest of you are there as well.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's definitely useful. It's a presentation block where somebody comes in and says, I use Werewolf. This is how I use it.
cool. Yeah.
Um, actually, it would be really nice if, Grizz would come in because he had some really cool stuff they used to do with Werewolf.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, we can definitely reach out to him. I actually don't well, I know where he's at currently. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we can figure that out. So yeah, these are great ideas. I love having it be a little bit different. I mean, the way that I ask people, I say, hey, can you present on some topic, get the conversation going, 15, 20 minutes. That's what I say, but who knows what actually ends up happening when people get in there. It was kind of cool that, I mean, it was a good presentation. He did talk a lot about it. So that was kind of fun, and he just really appreciated Werewolf and all the work that you guys are doing. So that was great.
Cool.
Next month, Adrian at Red Hat is gonna come in. Let me see what he actually said. Sorry, am I on the topic?
He's the from the OpenHPC
Open
uh
HPC, right?
system, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Oh, yeah, yeah. Adrian is his name. Okay. So, hello, Rose. Thanks for the invite. He doesn't really necessarily a user, but I could talk about how OpenHPC runs its tests to make sure provisioning works.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
It I think tangential to Werewolf is fair game for this also.
cool.
And people understanding OpenHPC and our relationship is good.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Anything else to discuss on the topic of WUG past and present? All right. Well, next up, we did finally at long last get 465 out, and I followed the little release README that a past version of myself wrote, and it actually went smoothly, and I was pleased. I think it is the most smooth release that we've had. Although while I was then out, I was traveling immediately after that. I saw a bug report come in from who was it? I forget now. Someone saying. Yeah, I think this is Rich Johnson, right? This is who this is. Um, that he had had problems with uh, a certain situation with statefully provisioning to the disk. But I think that we are agreed right now that the main issue is that if ignition fails, but there is a disk, like if it is provisioned from before, it just ignores the failure and provisions anyway, or boots into it anyway. And we have, at least between the two of us, agreed that it should just fail. So we opened up a bug for that in 466. That if Dracket tries to do ignition and ignition fails, it should just actually fail the boot rather than continuing on as though nothing had happened. Um, but it was more minor of a case than I had originally thought. I was worried that we were going to have to like really quickly release a 466 emergency bug fix or something, but it seems fine. So everything fine there. I think that's everything that's here. But has anyone had a chance to deploy from 465? Any issues, any concerns with this release so far, other than that it took too long to get out? All right. Um, I do want to take this time to introduce Jason Scott. Jason, I don't remember how much you've been here in this meeting, but Jason's been the team lead and in at one of the teams at Fuzz or at CIQ at Fuzzball at CIQ, and is going to be doing a bit more work on Werewolf in well now and in the future. So thank you, Jason, for being here, and he's got commit, I think, in the repo now. So look forward to his reviews on pull requests too. Um, which brings us to, well, I was about to say it brings us to 466, but Tim, did you have something you wanted to say as well? You came off camera for or on camera for just a moment.
Yeah, I meant to do off of mute. No, I haven't had a chance to port 465 to, or whatever we're on now, 465 to OpenHPC yet. So I haven't
Okay.
been able to test it on there. I have been building against main and it has been working. So
Okay. Great. Um, so that brings us to 466. Uh, from like my vantage point, things I'm working on, I have this initial implementation of a node and profile unset command. We've demoed it in a past meeting, but got some feedback on that, so I'll be fixing that. There's been some discussion about this change to the comment field behavior. Jason, I think you said you were going to look at this one, or you were interested at looking at this one. And then, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it should be assigned to me.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there it even is. And then this probably relatively minor thing here that we just talked about. Um, and then Christian, you've got this larger TLS thing that we need to revisit and try and get in hopefully sooner than later so that it's not a
It's
blocker on
relatively
release.
small. It's not that
Okay.
large.
I mean big in terms of like conceptual, like it change that it's making. But
That not the thing is the TLS doesn't really change things. It just you have to load the key and the certificate and then Go does simply the rest.
yeah, great. And then here so I don't know the current state of this specific XAdder PR. What I can say is that CIQ has a customer that is specifically interested in this functionality. And I don't know if it's from this group or not, but um, no, it wouldn't be. But um, we're going to be looking at this and finding or trying to find a way to have this functionality along with a couple other things. Um, so it's in the release, and we'll see if we can push it forward. But is there anything else, that this is, I would be happy if we did these things and then cut a
Mhm.
release. But anything else that we need to pull into this for hopefully a faster turnaround on a 466 than we had on 465? I feel pretty good about this set of things right now.
are you targeting the end of January for this?
I think end of January is too soon, especially even just from a release cadence standpoint, but end of February, I think would be good if we could do that.
Okay.
But which you want to target all of these, right? 466?
Yeah. hmm
Okay.
And then there is, if people are, we get all this done and there's others that, time and people want to do things. There are, of course, other pull requests. So I say, of course, we should review these pull requests that are uh, not assigned to a milestone, maybe. And so, see, several of them are. I'm going to go ahead and put these in 466 also because we should review them for that. Um, the ones that are just bumping a library. We may or may not be able to do them, but we should at least review them for that.
I
Yeah.
think it always still boils down to my recommendation that we don't bump Golang past uh what's
Yeah, in
the
Open
the, the
Euler.
version of Linux
Yeah.
I always forget.
Open
But
Euler, right.
yeah, Open Euler.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's in the at least the integration test now, like the package builds. I
Yeah.
think we're building Open Euler packages now, are we? But yeah, agreed. We shouldn't push Golang past what Open Euler can support, but we can fix dependencies outside of
Yeah.
that or within that, I guess. Um,
The other one to
Oh,
consider would be n-1 on Debian. I'm not sure if it builds out of the
mm,
box in Debian. I'm investigating that, but
okay.
I think it may,
no,
but that's another
not
one we may want to
Ubuntu.
consider.
You're not talking Ubuntu. You're talking Debian.
Yeah, Debian.
Full.
So
Okay.
Debian 12 in this
Is 12
case.
stable or is 12 old stable?
12 is old stable. 13
Okay, so
is.
you're saying we should be able to build on old stable. Okay.
I'm saying we should consider that as an option. I'm
Right.
not saying we should.
That is what you're suggesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting we do it. We should consider it.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
went as soon as we start building against Debian.
Okay. And what I was actually trying to come out to, but got distracted, as is my tendency. We have this 46X milestone, which is more of a grab bag for things that could be in 46, like they don't break the interface, they don't break backwards compatibility, but they're not necessarily targeted for a specific release. So if there's something in here that anyone is in particular interested in, don't hesitate to pull that into 466 if it's something that you're willing and able to put time into. Um, Anything else to discuss for the next release?
The question here is, do we should also concentrate now to update the Golang dependencies. So there are some from the main, how's the spot called? There's this maintain spot, and it's disabled because it disables itself when we do not update the Golang dependencies. So we should always try
Oh,
to
the
update them.
Dependabot? Is that what you're
The
saying?
depend about, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so
So we
that's
should,
what so too many things open now. So if we go here and here. So these are the ones that Dependabot most recently opened, and if
uh,
we do these, then it should rescan and see if there are
right,
more.
right.
But yeah, if these show up and we can do them, then we should within a release.
Yeah,
So I've pulled them in.
cool.
By the way, I'm just curious. What is the user asking for node-specific support for users in overlays?
Hmm? Oh, you saw something like
The
over
on the
here?
sorry, you always it's like I was just curious. I thought we already supported that.
I'm not certain where you're
Oh,
looking.
we were look go down th third line item down.
Over here?
Third line item down. Yeah, when you're talking about the next the 4.6
466, third down.
yeah.
Oh, add support for no specific local
Yeah.
users. Yes. So this was they wanted a way, and this is a PR from a member of our support team at CIQ.
Hmm.
They wanted a way to have explicit users that are in a single node. So what we have is the ability to put users into the Warewulf server, and then those get copied en masse to
Yeah.
all of the compute nodes. But I don't know exactly why, but someone wanted the ability to have a specific user go on a specific node.
Like Munge
Yeah,
would be one.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I totally see the need for it. I just don't seems more like a doc fix because you can do it now with an overlay.
Well, you can write your own overlay. This is an
Yeah.
overlay that does it for you.
What
So
are you saying? But it's versus, let me rephrase. What you're saying is it's not this isn't an overlay. They're asking for an update to the node file itself to
so
generate the
this
overlays.
this would update Etsy group.
Yeah.
The sync user overlay has an Etsy group and an Etsy password in it, and this updates those templates in the overlay to read users out of a resource for that
Yeah.
node. So in addition to the users that it would pull from the server, you can add additional arbitrary nodes and group or users and groups to it. Um, I might have an opinion that this should not be local, but that's why it needs to be reviewed.
Yeah.
So the last thing on here is so at the CIQ booth at SC, we were having internal conversations about getting more industry and university participation in the werewolf community. And on one hand, that could be technical steering committee participation, which is something that I had uh, um, that's where my mind went originally, but could also just be developer participation and finding ways to highlight that and formalize that. And so, from an industry standpoint, I think there's, trying to get people to develop and or put money into the project, probably in kind money for like contribution of at CIQ or SUSE or someone's developer time. But then there's also like we could have a policy for recognizing um, universities or other um, like higher ed or research sites that put developer time into the project and get logos on the website or something like that. So my first inclination, what I would do if I weren't checking in here at all, is I have a contact at each of Dell and Redline that have expressed interest in doing this. Invite them to this meeting, of course, and to discuss with them like what in a perfect world they would like to see participation in the Werewolf project look like, just as a discussion topic in a future meeting, towards trying to get some kind of commitment of developer resources or something like that, um, up to and including representation in the committee with voting privileges as we have. Um, but we also talked about um, just logos on the website and uh, help outside of development, just managing the project itself. I'm doing my best here, but I think we could use some additional support there. What else should we be looking at? Do you guys have thoughts or opinions or concerns with my reaching out to, or CIQ's reaching out to additional industrial partners? What else could we be doing here to kind of widen the fold as it is and get more people in the project?
Well, go back to my our discussion 2 years, 3 years ago at supercomputing in the booth. Um, when we started talking about 5.0, and I am still the firm believer we need to look at moving Werewolf to a framework architecture with the ability to add plugins and give the opportunity to actually create a developer community around people able to write extensions for Werewolf that don't require modification of the source code itself.
Yeah,
And then
but
you build it's difficult. What I'm looking at actually right now for a completely separate project is using Go and its YAML input, for example. How do you take the entire YAML input file, grab what you need, put back what you want to update or want to add without actually modifying the YAML itself? So all this extra stuff you want to shove in the YAML file gets stored and kept, and that makes it very easy. You create a plugin. You can add the information to the nodes file, to the Werewolf file, and then Go's got all of these hooks already built into it for adding plugins. So it's very easy to write additional code that Go will just call if it happens to be sitting in a directory if you go look for it.
the
Um,
point is a bit, I support that we need plug. So if I generally don't, I'm not against plugins. The thing here is what want people to do with the plugins.
well, if for
So the point is with the templates itself, we already have a powerful mechanism which adds a lot of stuff in. So the question here is what could a plugin do what a template can't do, or overlay and a template can't do? It's not that I against it. I just want to know what is missing. what is the missing piece here?
Well,
What?
let's take what we currently have.
Yeah.
For example, NFS, right? We strip all the NFS out of Werewolf. There is no NFS configuration, no NFS support. That becomes, let's say, our first module we actually ship with Werewolf. It's so if you're not using NFS, you actually just depop that module that's normally loaded. And then Werewolf ignores everything. You can have NFS in the YAML files, but it will be completely ignored. Um, but as an example of a plugin, that's where it's, a feature essentially. And you can add, and then other users can add additional things for, Luster or Ceph or any of the other different kinds of uh, file systems that they're using. So it's all automatically configured through Werewolf, and there's already, and it's essentially ready to go, ready to run modules. I mean, you can do it all now. It just makes things easy.
So I would like to, though, focus on like the people and the organizational process around bringing people into the project. I don't necessarily see
Right.
the presence or absence of a plugin architecture as a limiting factor towards getting people into the governance system for
Oh, right.
Werewolf.
Well, I'm saying we go to it leads into the next step, which is you're talking about developing a developer community. By doing this, we open up specific areas where people can do submissions of their extensions and add-ons for Werewolf. So it becomes Werewolf is not a monolithic code. It's a framework and a large developer community around that framework.
Yeah. To dig into the NFS example, like that's the
Mhm.
direction that Werewolf has already been going, even without formal Golang plugins, by virtue of moving the NFS configuration into discrete overlays. And the kind of last step for that is this semi-long-term, but increasingly short-term vision of moving the server configuration that's currently in the monolithic host overlay into specific service-specific overlays as well. I
Yeah.
think at that point, um, it would be a relatively small step to go from there is an NFS service and it is configured with an overlay called NFS to you can have arbitrary services and they are configured with arbitrary overlays.
Yeah.
That all makes sense to me. Um, but who should we reach out to and how should we do it?
But yeah, oh, by the way, I'm 100% in full support of getting any OEM uh, behind the Werewolf project.
How do people feel about logos on the website? What expectations, what requirements would we want to see for we got commits or PRs from some university and they want to or would be willing to have us put their logo on the website as a contributor, that kind of thing. What would be a first step at a policy for that? Is it just you have code in a PR that got merged and we ask, hey, would it be okay if we put your logo on the website?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Okay,
More than a trivial PR.
sure.
You could you could oh, yeah, you might want to give levels. I don't know. Because if you're going to think about getting attracting significant development time, then those folks should get some more space than somebody who just did a PR, a small PR, but they should be acknowledged as well. So maybe, yeah, I don't know. They're already in contributors.
Yeah. Um,
Do we have a practice of triaging issues into, kind of the help wanted or easy first issue type of bucket?
not as a practice. It's a thing we've done on request when someone's like, "Hey, I would like to get involved. How do I get involved?" Then one of us might look through some issues and tag them like that to
Got
make
it.
them easier to
Okay.
find, that kind of thing. So I'm writing down that Jason has, I say Jason and my finger's still typed Jonathan. Jason has
I think your
volunteered.
fingers had it correctly. The thought process I was running through is if we were going to approach like universities or something like that, having a bucket of issues that are kind of easy to get into the project on might make it easier for schools to participate, you know?
Yeah. I will say right now, at least my initial thought process is less on schools getting students to contribute arbitrarily and more centers that use Werewolf
Yeah.
contribute the stuff that the improvements they would want to see. Things that we've seen like with ASU.
Yeah, that's completely
Um,
fair. Same reason you're interested in talking to companies like Dell and Redline is
yeah.
what are your needs? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Or do you want to differentiate between contribution and use? I mean, it is nice to know all of the academic institutions and labs that are currently using Werewolf and recognize it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, I would even say that the thing, you talk about smaller cluster vendors, companies who can't really don't have the expertise to contribute, and they're using Werewolf.
Mhm. Okay. Um, all right. Well, I will have a think about this and where we could have something like that on the website. And if there's no objection, I'll plan to, between now and the next meeting, email my contacts at Dell and Redline and see if they'd want to come in. And um, I don't think there would be any reason to not bring them in together, but we'll see what their schedules look like. And they'd be willing to come and talk with us and start having a conversation about what that collaboration would look like. That's all I have for today. Anything else we need to talk about before we shut down for this week? All right. Well, thanks all for your support and contribution and continued vigilance in the Werewolf Project, and we'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Let me I always forget this right until the very end. It looks like yes, the next meeting is scheduled for February 4th, which, as I'm thinking now, I might not be able to make. So if someone else is willing to run the meeting, that is fine. But I'm going to be traveling. So I'll send a reminder out about that on Slack and see if people would rather volunteer or cancel. Otherwise, see you guys soon.
Thank you.